Hello. So, when it comes to the five main points of national security, I serve as a deputy under Secretary Khan, which basically focuses upon the point of preventing the emergence of hostile threats towards the U.S. homeland and its borders. And the situation in Ukraine is no doubt worth stressing over. But what one potential notice, specifically towards the U.S. approach, could be, is this an example where the United States unintentionally demonstrates its limitations of power? Because the U.S. approach so far has been economic sanctions, or at least more economic sanctions than ever towards Russia, but it doesn't really seem to be doing much towards altering the aggression held by Russia's current leader. And it's fair to assume that the relationship between the two states could be now described as more strained. But a separate question that could arise is this the only example of the United States having a questionable relationship status with another state? Well, the Republic of Turkey has had a decent amount of contemporary examples which prove that, well, perhaps it has a relationship status with Russia that could be described as congenial, where it also has a very complex past with the United States, basically proving that, a fair share of its issues from, the past have made its way all the way up, persisting up to the contemporary world. Today, I will be showing you my policy briefing, which suggests that, since Turkey could be potentially hinting its farewell to its ally of the United States, maybe we should be looking at a brief history of what caused the tension between the two, as well as looking at contemporary concerns that are worth stressing over, and sharing a little bit about possible solutions that, if well considered, could possibly put the relationship between the two states back on track. All right, so here is our policy brief, skipping over the executive summary because we basically just went over that. When it comes to this short history aspect, basically the takeaway could be just Turkey's relationship with the U.S. states all the way back to 1831, with events leading up to the Cold War, and when we go down here, we have this timeline which shows this persistence of a successful relationship between the two states, kind of helping each other out up until 1963, of course, where we have this trend where there's disagreements, we make up, and then now we have more disagreements, and this persisted all the way up to 2013, right, with Syria specifically. Turkey did not want to provide arms to Kurdish forces because they basically said, hey, we've been fighting these people since the 1980s, and I don't know if we could trust them. Whereas the U.S. was like, we can, they seem pretty helpful towards fighting against ISIS, so I think we should trust them. And, adding on to this, a disturbing possibility is that Turkey could be using the prevalent coverage of Ukraine's war to actually weaken the Kurdistan Workers' Party, right? With the advancement of Turkey's attacks actually occurring as recent as April 19th of this year. And of course, to make things more strenuous, we have this mention of the S-400 missile system, basically Turkey purchasing this Russian missile system, which could possibly be just hinting that it's shifting away its dependency of the West and more towards Russia, which would be terrible for us because, well, of course, Turkey holds the title as NATO's second largest armed force. So, solution-wise, it all starts with a formal address, of course. Basically, writing it down on paper, saying for sure, right here, Turkey, we're ensuring you that the Kurdish forces won't be using the provided arms against your locations, right? And I think the best proposition of all would be President Biden basically bringing back this, or regulating this dialogue regarding the 400 or the S-400 missile system, because there was one point where Turkey had been saying that this purchase was for the benefit of the U.S., but this was ignored by former President Donald Trump, who kind of just stuck with his own assumptions and said that, no, this is just Turkey just using its missile purchase for their own benefits, and they're coming up with excuses. So, in the end, the unfolding situation in Eastern Europe is indeed important. Yes, I mean, people are dying, and there is this mass of fleeing refugees to the point where we can actually designate an entire category just focus on this specific crisis itself, that being, the fleeing refugees. But, perhaps one shouldn't let, all these events kind of hinder their focus away from other possible scenarios that can have a more direct impact towards the U.S. homeland. We've looked at, the relationship between the U.S. and Turkey, and this timeline, which basically suggests that there is this history of unresolved conflict that has only gotten us to a contemporary status of basically more uncertainty. And regardless of whichever solution is selected, whether it's going to be a suggestion of mine or a suggestion from a completely separate work, what seems to matter in the end is that there needs to be this emphasis of ensuring a stronger alliance between the two states, possibly starting with fresh dialogue, right? Reaching a compromise to ensure that issues that specifically matter on both ends are still addressed by one another. Because in the end, what matters more is a stronger partnership a more lively and stronger partnership between the two states for our near future. Thank you.